Good evening, you guys. This is Southern Charm, Louisiana, or New Orleans, I should say. Season 1, Episode 2. Now, look, we done jump right into the bullshit in Episode 2, okay? So, look, here we go. Let's talk about some shit. First of all, we start off with Barry and Tamika. Remember, Tamika's the newscast lady. So, we start off with Barry and Tamika. Now, remember last week I said I didn't know what Barry did? And again, if I missed it in the first episode, I apologize, but I didn't hear them talk about it. We find out this week, if we didn't already know, that Barry owns a gym. Barry's a personal trainer and he owns a gym. And he says he has businesses plural, but the business they talk about in this episode is his gym. And that's important. So Barry also wants to know, why the fuck does all of New Orleans know about our sex life? Like, why does everybody know that we ain't having sex? And I agree. Y'all know I said that last week. Why the fuck is everybody in their business? So, the person that I thought was going to be messy isn't the person that ended up being messy in this episode. And I told y'all to look out for Gianni. And all of this stuff is going on in this episode. So, we go from they have how they have the little conversations and let you know what all the characters are doing. So we see Tamika and Barry having this conversation. Then we see Barry going to the gym. Then we see the Reagan and Jeff walking their dogs in the suburbs, talking about getting the house in the French Quarter. Then we see what's my man's name? The guy that's moving in with his mom. We see him actually moving his stuff into the house. So we kind of see what's going on with everybody. So then we meet Sonny, Tamika's brother. Now remember last week, Sonny was at the little lunch with the guys, but he didn't really say anything. He was there, but you didn't really learn anything about his character. He didn't really say anything. So we find out that Sonny and Tamika are really close, that they get on each other's nerves, but that's what brothers and sisters do. But they're really close. Their father died when they were kids, and then their mom was diagnosed with MS, so she said, we really had to grow up really fast, and we're really close. She was like, he's an asshole, but he's my asshole. So you know how that go. So then we see Tamika having a conversation with Sonny, and Gianni comes up again. And Gianni was Barry's best friend. She's the girl. They all went to high school together. She said we had our debut together, and she was throwing a little bit of shade last week, but not a lot. This week, she done threw the whole damn tree, as my boy, as Rail would say on Beauty Bar, palm trees, because she threw the whole goddamn tree. She's talking about Gianni the whole damn episode. And at the end of the day, she said that she thinks Gianni's in love with her husband. And basically, she's like, I trust my husband, but I don't trust that bitch. But I also think it goes a little deeper because she talking about how she ain't all that cute, and you know how women do catty. She was doing all that catty shit. But what we do find out is that Gianni is a mover and shaker in New Orleans. She's on the board of her brother's. Sonny has a foundation, a nonprofit foundation, and she's on the board. And she's been, New Orleans Businesswoman of the Year. Like, she's been that person. So I'm getting ahead of myself. That's later on in the episode. But I just want y'all to know that Tamika throws jabs the whole episode. The whole episode. So then we cut back to Reagan and Jeff. And Reagan, on top of being in law school and other stuff, she says she has a couple of businesses, and one being a jewelry line. And I actually liked a couple of those pieces they showed. I probably can't afford none of them, but they look real pretty. So they were having a photo shoot for her jewelry line. So we see John again. John is the artist, the up-and-coming artist. He's like 24 years old. He looks like he's already probably a millionaire. He sells his art for probably ungodly amount of money. And he's, from anybody from Diddy to the Obamas have bought his artwork from him. So I thought the messy one was going to be Tamika's cousin / best friend that we met on the episode last week, the guy. Oh, no. John is the messy one. And we're going to get to that. I like you, John. You cute as shit, but you messy as shit, too. And so the problem with John, so John was at the photo shoot. So John decides that he's going to do he called it a booze and paint, because again, he talks about how painting is his life, and he wants everybody to gain an appreciation for the art like he does. And painting is just his love, and painting is, I mean, he was just, art is. And he gave some stupid scenario about amateurs built the ark, but professionals built the Titanic. Some bullshit, I don't know, whatever. So he's planning a guys' night out. It's going to be a paint party, basically a paint and sip, but guys' version, right? He's going to have it at his house and all this other stuff. Here's the problem. John don't have no respect for marriage. John has no respect for marriage, and he has no respect for any of these guys' relationship. Because in his mind, all the guys are weak-minded, all of them are pushovers, all of them are some punks because they let their wives, lead them around by the nose hairs, and you know what I mean? So he has no respect for the institute of marriage. He has no respect for the boundaries of marriage. And that is going to come and play a major part in what happened. So I'm sorry. So I'm sorry, y'all. I just got a crazy text. I apologize. Hold on. Sorry about that, y'all. I had a crazy text and I had to just figure out what was going on. I apologize. So anyway, so John doesn't have he has no respect for marriage, and like I said, that's going to come into play with his paint party, his guys' night out paint party. So now we cut back over to Reagan and Jeff. Remember last week, Reagan and Jeff were looking for an apartment in the French Quarter. Jeff thought he was going to be hanging out in the French Quarter. They were just picking up something because they live so far out of the city that it would be somewhere for them to stay, when they were working late nights or got drunk or whatever. Reagan was telling the girls, this is going to be my place. He's not going to be there. I just need a place to crash because she's in law school. She said, the nights when I have class, I don't have to worry about traveling back home. Tamika told her last week, that's a problem. That's some bullshit. What kind of marriage is that where y'all going to be spending 3-4 nights a week away from each other? So, fast forward to this week. They're looking at apartments, and Jeff is like really talking about how excited he is to be moving back to the French Quarter, and he lived in the French Quarter the whole time he played for the Saints, and all this other stuff. And Reagan was like, maybe I ain't tell you, but I'm telling you now, this is not your place, it's mine. And Jeff was like, what? And she was like, baby, I just need some place to go. I just need some space, when I'm having, when I have my classes, I just need a place to just be with myself. And was like, what kind of shit? And you see that he's like hurting. His feelings are really hurt. Like you can see that he's upset and his feelings are really hurt. But he just kind of gives her the, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. But you don't understand, and you should have said something then. I thought he was going to let it linger, but he didn't. He did address it later on, but I thought this was going to be something that was going to linger for like 2 or 3 episodes. So they end up talking about it, and he ends up explaining to her that, I'm sorry, y'all. He ends up explaining to her that he really had a problem with it. Like, he really doesn't like the idea that this is a place that he's not going to be welcome. And she was like, well, I mean, you'll spend some nights there, but I just don't want you to think that this is going to be this is our apartment together. Basically, that apartment is going to be like when we was dating, and sometimes you spend the night and sometimes you go home. That's bullshit. Because y'all not dating, y'all are married. The way Reagan made it seem like last week was she just needed her own place, some own space, some time while she was in school because she's stressed out about school and work. But then this week she made it seem like they are having some marital problems, and she needs some space. Because Tamika tries to talk to her later on in the episode, and Tamika tells her once again, that's a problem. I don't agree with that. I think that's a bad decision. I think you're inviting problems when y'all really need to be talking and working things out. And she was like, I just need some space right now. Like, she's, and Reagan says in her confessional, Tamika's making it seem like I'm leaving my husband She said, but what she doesn't understand is I'm doing this so that me and my husband don't end up breaking up and getting divorced. And then she threw some shit at Tamika, but she was like, well, when you left Barry, and Tamika was like, I never left Barry. And come to find out, she had some postpartum and ended up, technically she did leave him because she moved out. But it was postpartum, and she processed and dealt with it, and then they worked things out. And whenever you're dealing with postpartum, that's a whole nother issue. And I think that was kind of fucked up that she kind of threw it at her like that. But you know how you know how friends do. But back to John. And I kind of gave y'all all the other stuff because I want to get to John. Let me talk real quick. Sonny, we see with Sonny with his foundation, and we see Gianni again, and we see, like I said, we see Tamika there throwing shade the whole time about Gianni this and Gianni that, and da 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 da. And again, she's just throwing shade, throwing shade, throwing shade. And I don't understand where it's coming from, and it's real catty. It's just that female catty shit that I don't like. But yeah, she's just throwing daggers at her. So I'm sure that that's going to be something that's going to be ongoing. Because again, she was saying that she don't have a problem with her, but she just really thinks that, she wants her husband. Well, that's going to be a problem. Like, I'd have a problem with somebody that thought had some, wanted my husband. Like, I'd have a problem with that. So you do have a problem with this chick. But again, like I said, I feel like it started before all of this. Like, this is some stuff that they've been dealing with probably since high school type bullshit. So, John. We learned a little bit more about John. John is a bachelor. John likes women, and he's a bachelor that likes women, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not leading anybody on. So, he was like, he was out on a date with this chick, and he was like, well, no, it's not really a date. It's a date. Y'all went out to dinner by yourselves alone. It's a date. And you could call it a whole lot of different things, but at the end of the day, if it walk like a duck and it talk like a duck, it's a goddamn duck, and that was a date. But it was a nice, it was like they almost had like their private chef where he, you know how they bring out all the different, y'all know what I'm talking about. The different, Lord, my brain just went blank. Anyway, the appetizer, the main course, and the dessert, and he explained everything, and the chef was, so you was doing it up, and you was trying to impress her, and I would have been impressed. It was an impressive dinner, but at the end of the day, because it was a date, and then they kind of left you with the insinuation that she went home with him that night. It was a date with dessert. So, now we're back to Jeff and Reagan. And Jeff is talking to Reagan about how he feels. He said, right now, I have nobody. My family has disowned me, written me off. I'm alone. And you're now saying you're going to leave me for 3 or 4 days a week. And I'm not allowed into that space. And he was like, how do you think that makes me feel? So I give you kudos for letting her know how you felt, for not letting it fester, for not letting it drag on. And she kind of throws his NFL career at him. She's kind of like, look, when you were in the NFL and you needed time to go train and you needed time to do this and do that, I gave it to you, no questions asked. All I'm saying is that it's my turn. I see both sides of that coin, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's quite the same. But I do see both sides of the coin. And he even says that, when he was in the NFL, she was there for him. And, if he needed a suit pressed, she pressed it. You know what I mean? He was like, she was there. She was all in when he was in the NFL, whenever there was something that needed to be done. So he feels like it's his turn. But I do feel like this apartment thing is going to be a big problem. But it seems like they talked it out and sort of worked it out for now. Because she done already rented a place that he don't even know about. Like, she done already found some place and rented it. Alright. Now to the main event. This goddamn paint and sip party. John, you messy as shit. And what you did was fucked up. So, this is what he did. Guys' night out. He said, come to my place. I'm gonna hook you up. We're gonna have a little paint and sip. I'm gonna teach you some of my techniques. You know, I make thousands of dollars doing this. I'm gonna teach you how to do what I do. Well, not quite, but you know, let me give you a paint party with an expert painter. So they get there. He's got the bartender where they just taking shots. They just getting drunk. He's piling up. Like, everybody got to take a shot. You can't come up in here without taking a shot. You know, no chaser. He ain't got no food to try to coat nobody's stomach. Just straight up, let's get drunk. All right. So you have all the guys. Tamika's cousin is there, the one I thought was going to be the messy one. The jury's still out on him, but in this episode, it wasn't him. You know, Jeff, Barry. I don't think Sonny was there. I don't remember seeing Sonny. Don't remember seeing Sonny. John, you know, the other guy who has the girlfriend. So all of them were there. Now, out of all the guys that were there, 2 of them were married, 1 was in a committed relationship. Out of the, 5 or 6 guys that were there? So he decides that instead of them painting a still picture or some sort of still art, he brings out 2 women and they take their rolls off and they are butterball ass naked. Do what? That's fucked up. And that's not respecting the boundaries of those men's marriage. I understand art and nudity and all that. Like, I got all of that. Don't nobody need to drop in the comments and explain to me about nudity and art. But what I'm saying is, this ain't no damn college class. You not no professional. This is a bunch of people getting together doing a paint and sip. And you don't need no 2 nude models to do a paint and sip. That was some bullshit and you being messy. Now, had they had on a bikini, I would probably feel a little bit better about the scenario. If they had on a bikini, hell, they could have had on a regular bathing suit. It wasn't, I just feel like taking it to the point of them being nude and the fact that nobody knew. Like, you didn't say, hey, we're going to do a paint and sip. It's going to be some nude models there if you cool with it. Like, you didn't even give them that heads up. And to me, it's not even about the wives so much. It's about respecting your friends and saying, because maybe it's something that offends them. Maybe it was a religious thing and they were offended by it. So, John, you were wrong. I'm sorry where I cut off. I had to pause it again, y'all. Some shit going on. Anyway, I'm sorry. So John, you're wrong. You disrespecting your friends. You're disrespecting their marriage. And in all reality, they probably should have left. That's my 2 cents. Maybe people might think I'm overreacting. It's not a big deal. And they were cool with it. Like, they laughed, they joked. They were all sweating and doing that or whatever. But they hung in there until then he invites a bunch of women to come over to mingle. Like, John, what are you really trying to do? Are you really trying to fuck up these people's marriages? Like, come on. Like, that's crazy. So Reagan and Tamika were out eating. And they were trying to figure out where the boys were. They didn't even know where the guys were. They got the Find My iPhone app on the husband's phone and all kinds of stuff. Well, Barry ends up texting Tamika. He was cool till the women showed up. And once the women showed up, he was like, okay, I need to let my wife know what the deal is because I ain't trying to get divorced. So he texts her and says, look, like 20 women just showed up. And she was like, well, where are you? And he was like, I'm at John's house. So they know where John lives. So they get in the car, a little Uber or whatever, and they roll over to John's house. Now, they've been drinking too. They show up and all hell breaks loose. And John and Tamika end up getting into it. Reagan and her husband get to arguing. Her husband's drunk. And she's like, he's drinking too much and he's drunk. And he's upset. Jeff is upset because he's like, look, I'm a grown ass man. Like, you think I'm going to, what did you think I was going to do? Just fall into some woman's lap and just, lose my marriage over this? Like you don't trust me. And she was like, nah, it's not you. I don't trust her. I don't trust her. I don't trust him. You know what I mean? And personally, John, I put this on you. And I feel like you were being shady as shit, messy as shit. And had the situation been reversed, had you been married and your wife's single female friend had a bunch of new dudes running around and then invited a bunch of single dudes, studs, nice looking muscular guys for a girls' night out. And then John gonna say, so what you mean when y'all have a girls' night out, it don't be no guys around? Hence the term girls' night out. Now, girls' night out might include any variety of things, right? It may it may even include going to a strip show and seeing some naked dances, some guy dances. But what it's not, that is not the same to me as you setting up a club at your house with a bunch of single ass women and some new models sitting there. See, the new models was bad for me, but what pushed it over the edge was now you got all these women rolling up in here. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're setting up I don't know. I just didn't like it. I felt it was messy. I felt it was some bullshit. And to me, I would have felt the same way had it been the reverse and had been a female friend of the ladies saying, look, I'm going to hook y'all up. We're going to have a good time. And she had a bunch of naked men walking around and a bunch of single guys coming up in there. I would have said the same thing. Like, you're not respecting their marriage, you're not respecting their situation. And John, you wrong for it. You wrong and you messy. That's my 2 cents. Y'all drop it in the comments and tell me how y'all feel.